Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending today's webcast, BIM 360 in collaboration for Civil 3D. Our presenter today is Scott Hocker. He is a solutions engineer with Hagerman and Company. We're also joined on the line by Alice Craig. She's a solutions engineer with Hagerman, and she'll be on in the background to answer any questions that you may have while we're going. Before we begin, I'll let you know that you are in listening only mode. So if you have questions that you think of during the presentation, you could just type those into the question panel, which is located on the right-hand side of your screen. And Alice will address some as we go in the background, and there will be a Q&A session at the end as well, where Scott can cover some things. As we close down the session today, you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey, and we do ask that you take a few moments to fill that out for us. Additionally, all registrants will receive a follow-up email tomorrow containing a link for the recording of today's presentation. And now I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Scott.
Great, thanks, Ashley. Ashley, I just want to make sure that you can see my screen. I've got the PowerPoint.
I can, yes, looks good.
And perfect. All right, well, thank you very much. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're viewing this. My name is Scott Hocker. I am an AEC solutions engineer for Hagerman and Company, and this is BIM 360 in collaboration for Civil 3D. So if you are not in the right location, you are either going to be bored to death, or you're going to be completely entertained for about the next 45 minutes, or at least I hope so. So with that, we are going to get into, just briefly, don't anyone panic, it's not going to be 45 minutes of a PowerPoint. I'm actually going to step out on a ledge and take this live, so we're going to see what happens. But I do want to cover a little bit for anybody who's new to this. Excuse me. So, basically, what is BIM 360? Well, BIM 360 is a cloud-based platform that allows us to coordinate projects in real time in different locations. So it can be utilized for Revit, AutoCAD, Plant 3D, Civil 3D. Okay, I think most of the folks who've kind of embraced it to this point have been architectural folks, but it has been around longer for us civil folks than it has for them. So I don't really understand why it's taken us so long. I guess it's because we're kind of set in our ways and we really don't want to do that. But it's actually a pretty nifty kind of platform. Everything is in the cloud. It allows us to, again, work anytime, anywhere. You can be at your house, you can be at the office, you can be in the field. It allows us to set securities so that if you are a designer or an engineer and you don't want the project engineer to be involved in any kind of drafting excuse me, situation at all, you can lock them out. Okay, and while this is going on, it's all going on in real time. So if someone wanted to go ahead and open up the file and start doing markups, they can do that. And they will be doing that with the latest version of the drawing files. Okay, now there are different types of BIM 360 offerings. We're going to be focusing on BIM 360 design today. Like I said, there is Revit capabilities here and plant capabilities, but we're going to focus mainly on Civil 3D. In fact, not mainly, we are. I'm not going to get into any of the Revit or the plant 3D. That's not my forte. So I do have Alice Craig with us. She is our Revit person when it comes to our BIM 360. But today is Civil 3D. So if possible, let's just keep those questions related to the civil portion and just general questions for BIM 360. Unfortunately, Alice can't answer the civil portion. I can, so we'll probably go ahead and grab those at the very end. Okay, so BIM 360 for infrastructure. Okay, like I've already discussed just briefly, it is a document management tool. Okay, it allows management and or project engineers to review your submittals, keep control of versions. Okay, very much like Vault in the fact that it will continue to build on version after version after version, and we'll see that here in just a little bit. You can create issues and markups, and we'll talk about that as well. So we can utilize it for Civil 3D. In preparing the webinar, I've actually found it to be pretty interesting and a lot more streamlined than what we're used to. Okay, security is utmost for most of us, especially now that a lot of us are working remotely, at least in this time. So with that, it allows file locking, permissions, etc. Okay. Now you do need the desktop connector from Autodesk. That is a separate download in order to utilize the options that are available within BIM 360. It allows you to see it from your desktop. It allows you to see it in Civil 3D. Okay, and it allows you to see all of the file status, versions, etc. that you would actually see in the BIM 360 browser. So with that, we're going to step out. Okay, I told you it wouldn't be long. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at BIM 360. Now, because I am an administrator and we've set up accounts for Hagerman and Company, here's the account admin page. I can see who else has admin capabilities here. Alice actually has admin capabilities, and she's right there, and she's actually going to help me out with some of this today. But most of you won't see this, but I did want to at least start at this location. Now, what I'd like to do is this. We're going to go ahead and select projects. Now, this lists all of the projects that have been created under the Hagerman site. And the site is located up here at the very top. And you can click the pull down. Okay. And it shows that there are 18 projects that have been created underneath this site. Some of them are some training, some are demos. For example, the one that I'm doing today is a demo. Okay. Now, you will not have rights to all of them unless you are an admin for those projects. Now, I don't even have rights to most of these. In fact, I really only have rights to 6 of them. But here's where you can take a look and see the ones that are located underneath the site called Hagerman. Now, mine happens to be this one right here, webinar_BIM 360 and Civil 3D. Okay. Now, if I wanted to create a brand new project, and I did create one already for the sake of efficiency and time, all you need to do is simply click Add. Now, what this does, excuse me, it opens up a dialog box. Okay. Now, with that, we can give the project a name. Okay, so for example, demo, and we'll call it 10. I think today is the 29th-2020. Okay, we can select the project type. Is it a commercial site? Is it a healthcare site? Is it institutional? For example, government buildings, libraries, museums, things of that nature. Is it residential, single family, or multifamily? Okay, is it a roadway? Is it a canal? Is it a rail? So we've got these options here. And in this case, it's kind of a multi-purpose type situation. It's actually a site in California, and I don't believe it is being threatened by the fires that are out there right now. So it's kind of a multi, we'll just select retail. Now you can go ahead and select anything else that does not have an asterisk. The asterisk means it's mandatory. Anything else is just gravy on the potato, so to speak. You can put in project values. You can do contract types, start dates, job numbers, the address of the site. In this case, I really don't have a specific address. It's just on Mission Avenue, and it happens to be in Oceanside, California. in the United States. I can set the time zone, and you can also set the BIM 360 field project language. Now, you can always come back and add project value and things of this nature that are optional at another point in time. So we can go ahead and click Save and Continue, because what's going to happen then is we'll see that the project will be saved. There it is right there. Congratulations, you've saved it. Okay, and it's going to roll through, and it's going to take us to the project admin, project services location. Now, you will see that Insight is automatically activated. Okay? So what Insight does is it provides an overall view of project activity. So that's one that we can't activate or deactivate at any point in time. Now, what we really want to start with is we want to activate document control. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, I can choose to select a project template here, or don't apply a project template at all. It's completely up to you. It does not matter. Although, if you apply a project template, it's going to make life a lot simpler for you, because you may have other templates that have been created, and every time you create a project, it creates a template. So there will be one for the webinar_BIM 360. Okay, so there will also be a template file for demo 1029-2020 once we get to that point. Okay, now with this comes your folder structure. If you have a specific folder structure, okay, you can create that every single time utilizing the correct template. If you have a client that requires a specific file structure, you can create a template for them as well. For example, folks like Walmart and Target, etc., they will have specific file folder structures, and they wish to adhere to them. When you send them their files, they'll automatically populate. Okay, so not only does this save you time in utilizing locations for your files, it also saves time on the project setup side. Okay, so it's very much one and done once you get to that point. Okay, now also carried over in your template file is security settings. Okay, that way we can go ahead and assign roles. We can go ahead and assign security settings, who has permissions to what folders, who has full permission so that they can read, write, edit, etc. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and select this one. That's the one that I created for the project here today. Included here is design collaboration and Insight and document management as well. So we're going to click activate. And it's going to go through the process. Okay, it's reading the ones, these little collections here that were active in that project. Okay, so it's going to go through and it's going to take a few minutes. We'll come back in and we'll select this one right here. Now, this is where I can add roles and add folks to the project. So for example, I've already added Alice, and I've given her the role of architect. And now the nice part about this is we can get really accurate. And once we add someone, if they're already loaded, you can simply type in their name or their email. Now she is already in the project, okay? But I set up her email. It was already in the database for me. I can provide a company name. So I can either search or add based upon our templates, and I can change her role, okay? Now in this case, Alice is our architectural liaison here for the project. But as you can see, there are several, and basically they're going to cover pretty much anything that we would have for an infrastructure project, survey, any type of inspector, etc. Okay, so we're just going to give Alice that role again. Now, here's where I can tell what I want Alice to have access to. Whoops, don't want that one. Although that will remove members from a project. Okay, so for example, if someone was working on X project and you actually used a template for that and they're no longer with the company, you can go ahead and remove them. So I'm going to give Alice basically access to everything but project admin. Okay, I'm going to allow her to use Insight, document management, and the collaboration tools. Okay. Now, design collaboration, again, that's one of those automatically activated, and that basically allows you to control and share the project data. Okay. Now, once we come back to project services, you can always come back and activate the modules later on in the project if you need them. Okay. The only one that you really absolutely positively want is document management going forward. Okay. The rest of these are those that you can always come back and set up and get them based upon whatever you need. Okay. So
Hey, Scott, if I just jump in for just a second.
please,
If you go back to the services tab, this comes up quite often in our classes. You'll have services that they will not see unless you subscribe to one of those services. They will not show up on your services panel there. So you will likely only see the 3 that Scott has activated unless you own the other ones.
Perfect. So if you're an admin, though, you'll see these if you're subscribed as well, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Alice. Okay. So like I said, I've already set it up. So I can go back in, select it there. So there is document management, there's Insight, and there's my design collaboration. So we're going to move forward with this project here. Okay. Now, I'm kind of we've kind of talked about setup here, at least initially, and now I'm going to actually move towards the engineering aspect of BIM 360. Okay, so with that, we're going to open up Civil 3D, and in order to access BIM 360 collaboration tools, you must be using Civil 3D 2020.2 or later. Now, the version I'm using is the latest, it's 2021, so we shouldn't have any problems here. Now, we're going to move to our Start tab. Okay, so this is new from 2020.2. Okay, the Start tab used to have videos and it had kind of a Get Started. There were 3 columns: Get Started, recent documents, and notifications. Okay, but with the advent and the real move towards BIM 360, we've adjusted this. So what I can do is I can now access my BIM 360 information and my projects. Now I'm only going to see the projects that I'm a part of. Okay. So right now I'm a part of 7 projects, and you can see that right here. And we saw earlier there's like 16 projects under the Hagerman site. Okay. So these are the ones that I truly have access to as someone who's going to be a user, someone who's going to be working as a designer within the software itself. Okay.
One other quick little comment there, Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
This is for our company. So if someone else has created the project and invited you to it and it's not your company, you can say change account, and then it will list any other companies that you're a member of a project on. We don't have any other ones.
Okay, and that's fine, but I just wanted to show you.
FYI. Yeah, because
Okay.
quite often they're going to be invited to a project, so it may not be under their company hub. It may be under another company hub. And they can just say change account and locate it.
Okay, awesome. Now with this being associated with a specific project, okay, this kind of helps out the IT folks, project managers, anyone who's really in charge of document management, okay? Because we can remove a lot of the issues that we have just using a network server. So for example, accidental folder or file deletion, renaming a folder, moving folders, that kind of thing, okay? It's stored in the cloud. So basically everything's going to be backed up in the cloud, so we can always go back, all right? So right now within this project, I've got those 4 drawing files available to me, okay? Now I'm going to shoot back here to BIM 360 for just a second, okay? Actually, here we go. I wanted to go to folders, document management, okay? So here's where the folders were set up. These were folders that were set up in the template, okay? And I've actually gone ahead and created one for webinar, but you can see I've got a DWG folder. I've got a DREFs folder inside of there as well as an alignment, okay? And we'll get to this here in just a quick minute, but I just wanted to show you the file structure, okay? Now I've actually put an image in here so that we can see that a little bit later on. But we're gonna go back into Civil 3D. Now, once we're here, we can utilize this to take a look at our file status, okay? Now, one thing I do want to iterate here, it's important that your file structure match what the project members are currently using. And I say that by, if you have a company folder structure, please don't deviate from it. If you have a client structure, please don't deviate from it, at least initially, okay? Because we don't want our users to have to learn a new system of file structures, etc., on top of this. Now, BIM 360 is not going to be too awfully difficult for folks to grasp, to be quite honest. I was pleasantly surprised when I jumped in. I'm a little old school, okay? I'm the old network person, and it's kind of difficult to embrace new things sometimes, okay? But I can also see the flexibility and the security that you have there. So try not to change too much midstream. It's going to be enough to start them off on 360, okay? You can always make those changes later on. Now, here's where we can take a look and check out our individual files. For example, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the alignment drawing, and it's going to open it up. It's going to download the latest version from the cloud and make sure that I actually have the latest version. Okay, that's going to take a minute. Probably should have done this earlier, but that's okay. It doesn't take all that long. So here's my alignment file. Don't worry about the panorama there. There's nothing to see here. It actually isn't. There's nothing there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the Start tab because I've got this open. And it shows me that I do have it open and it's locked. It was locked by me and it was locked at 11:26 today. Okay, so I'm sure that there is someone out there who has stood up either in the cubicle or office and screamed out into the hallway, "Who's got the utility plan open? I need to get into it." Okay, with BIM 360, you don't have to do that anymore. You can take a look right here. It will tell you who has it open. It will tell you that it is locked. And then you can go ahead and move forward, okay? Now it tells me that it has been synced. I do have the latest version. It tells me that there are 3 different versions of this drawing file. So there have been 3 iterations and revisions that have been saved. Now, you can have up to 10,000 versions before you need to save as and start back over with version 1. So over and over and over, we all complain about making revisions, I think at times, or concept plans, but you've got the ability to go to 10,000. I don't imagine anyone's done 10,000 concept plans for one location. If you have, raise your hand and I salute you. Okay. Now, BIM 360, like I said, it doesn't matter how many you have, but at 10,000, you've got to go ahead and save as and rename the file. Okay. You can keep them as long as you need to in the cloud. So as long as you have a subscription to BIM 360, you don't have to worry about versions. You don't have to worry about storage. That frees up time for design instead of document management. Okay. Now I already went ahead and I opened up the alignment drawing. You saw that there was a checkout dialog box and a progress bar. So it made sure that it downloaded the latest and greatest to my file here. Okay. So it also checks, not only do I have the latest and greatest file, it checks to see if I actually have permission to that file. So if I did not have permission, it wouldn't allow me access. That's a beautiful thing. Okay. Now, once I have this open, I can go ahead and use Civil 3D the way that we all do. Performs the same functionality. Now, there are just 2 differences here for the most part. Okay. And they are in your Prospector tab. You will see a cloud icon next to your current drawing file. If I hover, it tells me the location. It says it's locked by me. Perfect. That should. Okay. And then also you will see if you're utilizing data shortcuts, the location, you've got a cloud there as well. So we're accessing cloud information. Here's the name of the file. And here's my working folder for my data shortcuts. Okay. Now for typical 3D users, the only true change for you is going to be where you were opening files from. So instead of opening from a network drive or going to that location and double clicking on a file, which is not recommended anyway, you'll be opening them from the BIM 360 collection on your Start tab. Okay. Now you'll see this as long as you've got your escapes me at this point in time, but as long as you have your desktop connector loaded. Okay. So we can go ahead, make the changes we need to, update as necessary. Okay. And we can make a save. Once we save, the version will be updated. We tested this one yesterday and we had kind of a glitch a little bit because my connection was slow. It's like, what's going on? What's going on? It's going to be fairly seamless and pretty much fairly quickly. Okay. And by quickly, I mean, if we're waiting 30 seconds to a minute, nowadays that's extremely slow, right? So any user making the move to BIM 360, the transition will be seamless. It can be taken care of literally in about 15 to 30 minutes. This is where you're going to open your files. This is where you're going to go take a look for your data shortcuts. This is where you're going to grab your X references from. Okay. And that's it. There is no huge amount of time out of production to implement. There is no huge learning curve for users. Their life is going to continue on basically as it always has, except for the fact that they're going to access from a different location. Okay. Perfect. So as far as the document management portion, I'm going to go ahead and open up my File Explorer here. Here's my BIM 360. Now I happen to have the older version of 360 Team. Okay, but here is my project. Folder structure, webinar, drawing files, images. Okay, minimize that, doesn't have to be that large. Now the desktop connector keeps your local machine in sync with the server. You'll see the BIM 360 when you download and run the desktop connector. You'll see this option under this PC. Okay, basically this is the same information that we just saw on the Start tab for Civil 3D users. Now you can add files to your File Explorer by dragging and dropping. Basically, that's what I did with these drawing files yesterday. Okay, I dragged and dropped them. Easy enough, just like you do any other folder location. There are, not only can you use this to store and access your DWG files, you can access and store your Excel spreadsheets, your images in this case, Word documents. Okay, BIM 360 supports over 80 plus file formats, including Bentley products. Okay, they will be versionized or versioned, etc. So you can utilize not only BIM 360 for your DWG files, but for any other file format that you're utilizing for your project. Okay. Now the desktop connector will cache the files to your machine on command. We just saw that when I opened the file, it cached everything and brought it down. This saves space on your hard drive. It keeps the files on the cloud until we absolutely positively need them. Okay, now, if you are starting on the project for the very first time, you're new to the project, etc. Okay, you want the DWG files, or you want the project. Let's see, I can free up space here. You've got the ability to go in and download the entire folder. This way you get all of the recent files right there at your fingertips immediately, and you can continue and start your design. Okay, easy enough. So far. Okay, so we're going to run back. BIM 360. We're going to go to Project Home. So for you project managers, if there are any out in the audience, this is going to be your one-stop drawing/project overview. Now, BIM 360 is going to work on most of the current web browsers, Chrome, Safari, Firefox. You can also download apps for your iOS and Android devices. Okay. Now, here's where we'll see cards. They're just considered cards, project address cards, weather cards, etc. Okay. These will vary, and you can customize what card you see. You've got the customization option right here to the far right, card library. Okay. So there are some that are built in. Okay. Now, what you can also do is use what's called Autodesk Forge. Now, Autodesk Forge allows you to modify and add additional cards. It is a cloud-based developer platform, okay, that you can utilize to create and build applications that tap into your design and engineering data. That allows you to either get quick information in real time, you can automate processes, create alerts, etc. Okay? So very quickly, I can take a look. Today, the weather on the site is 68 degrees and clear. Now, the project address, because it was really incomplete, it just says Mission Avenue here. Risk factors, issues, etc. Right? Very quick overview. Project managers do not really truly have to have a project meeting anymore. If everyone is using BIM 360 the way that they're supposed to be, all of this is going to be available at his fingertips. Okay? So we're going to jump back to document management. Again, the same folder structure. Okay? I've got Civil, Webinar, DWG. So here's all of the information. Now I can give my DWG files a description. I can see when it was last updated. I can see the size. I can see how many versions we have of this file. For example, I've got 3 for the alignment, and I've got 2 here for my surface, and I've got 3 for my site plan. Okay. Now, if I select the civil folder and highlight it and click on the 3-dot glyph here to the far right, I can set my permissions. For example, we're going to add Alice. And I can give her a permission level. I can give her view only. Alice is an architectural person. I don't really want her touching my files. No offense to Alice, but I don't want architecture messing with engineering files and vice versa. Okay. I would probably give her the ability to view, download, and upload, because I will need those files at some point in time that she's working. Now, you can do view only for folks, maybe project managers. We don't want them actually getting involved, but they may need to take a look at drawing files. Maybe they're view only. We'll just tell Alice for this folder, she can view, download, and upload.
And Scott, I'll just add one little quick comment, and that is that for someone to link a file in, so as an architect, if I wanted to link in your civil file, all I need is viewing permissions. So I might do the same in the architectural folder. I might just give you viewing permissions so that you could then link my model in. So just FYI.
No, that's great. So we can each have our own security. All right, awesome.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our DWG files. Okay. I want to take a look at the alignment file. I'm going to click on it. Now it's going to open up right here in the browser. And I'm going to be able to see the file sheets, if there are any, and the views. Okay. I've only got one view in here, so it's going to be able to pop us in and show any named views we have. I'm going to be able to take a look at any 3D views that we may have. Okay. Now within this portion, I'm able to go ahead and mark up the DWG files. The markup option is up here in the top left corner. No markups exist for this one right now. Okay. Now this opened up the latest version. So it opened up the live, up-to-date file for me to mark up. It's the same one we have open in Civil 3D. Now, this streamlines the process for the project engineers or the designers that are going through and QCing the project, because you're not waiting on someone to print you off a check set or some PDFs. It is accessible at any point in time for you to access. Okay? Because how many times has someone come to you as a user and said, I need a check set and I need it by the end of the day. So about 3 o'clock, you think, well, I've got as far as I can. I'm going to print it off. But you're still going to work on it for 2 more hours. Okay. Well, those 2 hours, whoever's marking them up may mark up things that you got taken care of within those 2 hours. So it's wasting their time. Once it's marked up and you get those back, it's wasting your time because you need to see those markups and go, well, I already did this. What? I mean, come on. Okay. So because in real time, I'm going to see the markups. I'm going to see any QC issues that I need to create as a project engineer. Okay. Much more efficient in saving time and money, and that's what we're here for. Okay. So with the markup, now you can zoom in with your mouse wheel and pan the same way you do within the software. Okay. Now I'm going to add a cloud here. Woo. Right. Now we can move it around. That's my location. I'm going to go ahead and add some text. And in this case, click inside of here, make radius larger. Okay. Now, in this view, if I save the markup now, I will be the only one that can see it. If I want other folks to be able to see it and work on this as the project progresses, I need to go ahead and publish it and make it public. Once I save that markup now, it becomes part of the history of the project. Okay, here it is right here on the left-hand side. It tells me it was published. That means everyone that has access to it can see it. It gives me the time. It tells me the version, and it's a 2D view. Now, like I said, this becomes part of the project history. For example, 6 months down the road, we're almost done. Why is that radius so large for Ascent Place? Well, it's so large because back on specific date, October 29th at 11:45, Scott Hawker said we needed to make it larger. And that's why it is the way it is. Okay. No more trying to remember, why did we change that parking lot configuration? Why was the building moved? Where was it moved from? Okay, it's right there for you to see. Now, in this case, what we can do is we can also set, it's called issues. Now, I'll probably want to close this up. We'll go back and we'll take a look at our parcels drawing. Okay. So we've got this set up. Here's our school site, right? We've got some commercial. So I want to not only mark up, but I want to let somebody know that we've got an issue and we need to take care of it. A little bit different than markups. So I'm going to click on an issue. And then I'm going to select create issue here. Now, issues can be created for drawing level or project level. It does not matter. What type of issue is it? Okay. Now, the first thing is, why can't I click here and start adding my information? Because it wants us to pick a location to place a push pin. That way, whoever this is assigned to can see the view and where the issue is when they come in and click on it. So the title of this is going to be Divide Commercial. Okay. Now, what type of issue is it? Well, you can have all sorts. Okay. Punch list, safety infraction, quality. Okay. Setting these will help you later on when it comes time to take a look at the project at the end. Okay. This will be a design issue. Right now it's open. I can assign this to a specific member of the project. In this case, I'm going to choose Alice. Sorry, Alice. Now, I'm going to need it by end of the day Friday. Now, I don't have a specific location or location details, but I can place them in there. Okay. Again, anything that does not have the asterisk is not mandatory. What is the root cause? Well, in this case, it's a design change. Okay. Here's a description. Please divide the commercial parcel into 3 equal plus or minus parcels. Now I'm going to create this. Now what this does is, because I've got Alice's email address, it's going to send an email to Alice. And it's going to tell her, hey, by the way, you've just been assigned an issue. Okay. So here's that issue. I'm going to pop this over here on the screen. So here's what Alice got. Your action is required. This is your responsibility. Okay. Now this is one that I created yesterday. Not quite sure she's done it yet. I got to check on her, but I gave her until the end of the day tomorrow. So I asked her to realign the building footprint for better open space. It is open. Okay. It gives her all the information. Here's the document. And if I want her to view the issue, I can. Well, what is that issue? Okay. Realign the building footprint for better. The description was additional. Okay. So Alice just answered the one that I just created. All right. Is there an attachment? Not in this case, no. However, I actually created an issue for myself. And there's a bust in the surface. It's showing a berm where there doesn't need to be. Check the surface for bad points. Here's the attachment. You can drag and drop or browse for it. Here's the issue I'm having with my surface. So I can tell someone, this is it. Okay, you should see this when you get into the file. Please fix that for me. Okay. Awesome. Let's close that up. Okay. Now, one last thing. We can compare versions. I happen to have 3 versions of my alignment, 2 versions of my contours. What are they? Let's take a look. Simply click on version. Okay. It tells me here's the current version. Here was my original. I want to compare the versions. And then click compare. Okay. This is just to make sure that you've got the right information the first time. It's just verification and confirmation. Compare. Okay. Now it's going to pop up. The newest version is going to show up in red. Okay. The old version is going to show up in blue. I can turn off each version. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in here. So the very first version, there's not a bust in my surface. However, I now have a bust in my surface here. Something was changed. We need to figure out why. Okay. Now in this case, if I turn them both on, because it was an addition, I'm only going to see the red color in the new version. If it was, for example, general notes in version 1 that were revised in version 2, they're going to show up as purple because red and blue is purple. Okay. Now the other neat thing here is this. You do not have to take a look at it as an overlay. Some folks have a difficult time with that. You can do it side by side and use the slider bar. And you can see once I move that slider bar, I can see what's changed from version 2 to version 1. Okay. Now there's a lot of other things in here that you can utilize. However, we only have time for what I've shown. Okay. But BIM 360, at least initially, can be something that appears to be very daunting to implement. However, it is not. It allows any member of your team, whether they're in-house, whether they are a sub, whether they are in the office, out of the office, etc. It allows them to see in real time any issues, any markups, and the latest information immediately. They do not have to come into the office, print it out, etc. They can access it from their tablet if they've got tablets with the app. It's going to streamline the entire process. It's going to make you more efficient, and it's going to make you a lot of time and money, hopefully. Okay. So hopefully that helped you out understanding BIM 360, and maybe you want to take a look at implementing that. But I appreciate you joining in and taking a look at this. Alice, were there any questions that you had to answer during the process, or do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I really just had one question, and I was just answering that. I see one more coming in. So there was one question here about the linking, and they mentioned the shared and consume. We didn't talk about that, and that's really a Revit workflow. So for linking, it is what we call live linking. So as you update your model, everybody else will see it. We have some different options in Revit, but for civil, it's a live link. You update yours, and if I have it linked into my file, I will see that update.
Correct.
Let me take a look. Yeah, that was the last one. There was a couple of things I thought I would just mention. Early on, you said that you could see projects that you couldn't access, and so I thought I would clarify on that. Because you are an account admin, you can see all the projects, but you may not be a member of some of those projects. So even though you can see them, you may not necessarily have access from Civil 3D. And then another thing I thought I would point out is that if you're in Civil 3D 2021 or 2020, you're only going to see the files in the projects that have that same version. So if you're in 2021, you're only going to see projects and files for 2021 projects, so that everybody's working on the same version at the same time.
Ooh, that's good to know. Now,
Yeah.
because 2021 is able to open 2018 files, we can go backwards to 2018.
But in Civil,
How
don't you
will
have to, I would need to probably test that a little bit more, but what I would say is, you know, be careful. You really want to stay in the same version. And we could do some testing, you and I.
Yeah, and I would agree. And honestly, you need 2020.2 to be able to access and utilize the tools anyway. So.
Okay. Contessa had a question on the follow-up to that live linking. No, a person only needs viewing permissions to link to a file, regardless if it's Revit, Civil, Plant, or DWG or Revit file. All they need is to have viewing permissions to the folder where that file resides. And then there was one other thing I thought I would say too, that, you know, we set up a project here, but oftentimes if this is a project, an architect may be the one that actually creates the project and invites the civil engineer. However, civil engineers, if they want to work on a project just within their own team, can set up a project just like you did, and it may only be a civil folder with all of their files so that they have access from anywhere, not necessarily on their local server. So even though you may not regularly create projects, you definitely can use it for your own internal work as well.
Thank you.
And that was it. I don't have, if anybody else has any questions, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'll let Scott take it.
Yeah, we'll give him a few seconds here to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Jump on and chat. And actually, we're already up against time. So if you have any, you can always go ahead and ask them, and we'll go ahead after the fact and we'll address them for you. So Ashley, if you could go ahead, take over, close us out. I appreciate everyone attending. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Scott and Alice, for the presentation. Thank you all for attending. Yes, if you think of questions, you can enter them in the survey that will just pop up as we close down, or you can simply reply to that confirmation or reminder email you received from GoToWebinar, and we can get those to the right person. Again, I just want to mention that you will receive an email tomorrow with a link to the recording of today's presentation. With that, we'll close. So have a great day, everyone, and thanks for attending.